All right, what's up? This is Chelsea VanBuskirk with the Heart AF podcast. Yeah, you like that beat? I had it specifically made for this podcast. My friend Jonizius put it together, and it is freaking amazing, if I do say so myself. Super excited to get this podcast up and running finally after, 3 years of it being in my head and wanting to get it out there and put it out there in the world. First things first, I figure I tell you who the hell I am and why I wanted to put this podcast out here. Like I said, my name's Chelsea VanBuskirk, and this has been a long time coming. So why Heart AF? Like obviously, maybe not obviously, because I did have one friend ask me one time what AF stood for. So if you don't know, and let me preface that this podcast will have the occasional F bomb because that's how I talk and I'm not going to censor myself. So AF stands for as fuck. So Heart AF translates to heart as fuck. And it's a play on words for when things are hard as fuck in life and really just how we can get through those hard moments by using our heart and coming inward. And really, that's what my message is about, digging deep and coming back inward to our inner selves, to our true selves, our higher self. And a lot of that comes with our heart. People talk about digging from your head or digging from your heart. And generally speaking, we are brought up to think more with our head. And I feel like that can be a problem because when we live life based on what we think others think is right, based on what people want for us, on other people's expectations versus our own, or living our life to please others, or doing what we think we have to do versus what we really want to do, what's really in our heart and soul, and what's really speaking to us and what's really lighting us up. That's really when we start to live life in a more watered down way, or I like to describe it as living as your caged self. I once was talking with somebody and they had asked me, do your kids want to see caged mommy or do they want to see happy mommy? And that struck a chord with me because I do feel like we live so much of our life and make so many decisions based on other people and what's best for others versus what's best for ourselves. And I think that is a problem. And I specifically want to speak up about that problem, especially as women, we are thought to be the nurturers, especially as we come into relationships as being the caregivers, the caretakers in relationships and family structures. We're the ones that birth the children and become mothers. And it's a very hard time to be a mother, I would say, because on one hand, we have this evolution of this female empowerment and women who are having careers and working and who are having to balance both motherhood, career, and their passions, and really finding that balance between their responsibilities and also their passions is very hard. And I see so many women who give up on their passions when they become mothers and they just put their whole lives into motherhood. And then what happens when the kids grow up and they're out of the house? What are you left with after that? And that's a big problem to me. And also as a female, I feel like we're just more expected to be the caretakers. And there's still a lot of these societal drugs that keep us into these specific boxes. And I think that goes hand in hand too, as far as our soul's calling. I feel like for myself, I have always felt very spiritual and felt an inner knowing. And I was brought up with a lot of different religious groups and went to many different types of religious churches. And none of them really seemed to fit exactly right with me. There was pieces that could feel true, but I never really felt like I fit in. And so there's always been this kind of craving as I've gone through all these painful and traumatic experiences throughout my life where I've always craved that spiritual connectedness and always felt like there was some higher power that was there and available to me. And so I've always been very interested in learning as much as I can about different religions. It was a behavioral science major, which meant all of the behavioral sciences I could basically lump together and get a degree in that. So I did a lot of anthropology classes, sociology classes, psychology classes. I did an anthropology class on religion and just really learning about ancient civilizations and things, and through art history and all these other teachings and history classes I was taking. It was so profound to me. These ancient civilizations have a huge spiritual construct with how they live their lives and how similar their religious ceremonies, all these different cultures from all different parts of the world, from many different time periods, all have these very similar kind of ideologies and values. And for me, I was like, these similarities cannot be a coincidence. There's no way that there's this many different types of groups of people throughout history that have similar things. And so from my understanding of just educating myself and following along with history was seeing how there was a lot of politics, money, and power that became entwined with a lot of these organized religions. And then that became the turnoff for me. And I'm not against any religion. I am not here to convert you into any kind of religious box or anything. I'm really speaking for anyone that has a curiosity to different types of spirituality and who may be having internal conflicts within themselves because they may feel something different inside them than what they have been brought up to believe, or they may feel guilty or evil, or that they're being bad, or that it's wrong to question some of the teachings they grew up with. And so, really, I'm here to speak more to my journey and the things that I've learned that have helped provide me lots of internal healing that has helped me live a more joyful life, a life that I feel more free to be myself. And this is about having the space and the conversations to have anyone who feels like they're living in a cage, who feels trapped, who feels like they can't really live a life true to themselves because they feel constrained by the responsibilities they may have, or feel like they have to be somebody that society or their family, like whatever that external pressure or external expectations that they may be feeling. I want them to know that there is a way to be free. There is a way to really open yourself up again and not live this like watered down version of yourself. I always like to think of it as like we are these beacons of light, right? We're these light beings. We have this internal light within us. And it's our job to shine that light and be in this world. In shining our light, it helps everybody else shine their light. And so that's the goal, is to shine my light as bright as possible and to help other women find their light. And instead of dimming themselves down for others, to really just turn that light back on and really find themselves and learn to shine again. And I think this especially speaks to women and mothers, because I know that when you get wrapped up into neglecting yourself to take care of others, you really start to lose those pieces of yourself when you're making 1,000 decisions a day based on how it's going to affect your family, how it's going to affect all these other people, that you really lose that authority over yourself. And what do I need? I'm packing everybody else's lunch and figuring out what they need for dinner, the groceries, whose laundry needs to get done, and all the other tasks that I need to get done today. But you don't really have yourself at the forefront or think that you're even deserving of putting yourself at the top of that list. Like it's always everybody else's list above yours. And in doing that, we slowly chip away at ourselves, and that light inside us gets turned way, way down until it's barely even a flicker. And I've seen so many people where that light has just almost gone extinguished, or it does extinguish in someone's passing, because they turn to addiction, surrounding themselves with excessive food and just totally turned off and not really engaging and just going through the motions of life and not really living life anymore. And to me, that's a problem, because life is so beautiful. It can be so painful. It can be hard, but it also can be the exact opposite of that as well, where it can just be the most beautiful, fun, loving thing to experience. And I do think you need the hard times to experience the good times. I definitely think that there's a light to the darkness, a yin and a yang. Like we can't have one without the other. We need them both to be balanced. And heart AF, living heart as fuck, right? Like it's really about sometimes doing the hard things to break free. And so that's the goal here, is to share some of my experiences as a mother of three, as a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I just want to talk about all those different experiences and how I can help others in their own journey and their own self-growth and their own self-discovery. It's so important, again, like I said, because life is meant to be lived joyfully. You were created to be able to live this amazing life and in this specific time for a reason. And I think it's very important that we just enjoy life and not let it pass us by, living miserable, feeling like we can't do anything about it when we can. And I think that's a big thing, is we feel like we've lost our power. We don't even know we have the power to make things change for us. We don't know that we have opportunity and that we live in an abundant universe where we can literally create our own reality. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to understand. And so I'm trying to analyze all these different schools of thought and all these different ways that we can learn to heal ourselves, look at the darkness within ourselves, and learn how to love ourselves as we are, learn to get more in touch with our true authentic selves, and then just allowing ourselves to be that true authentic person and see how that ripples into your external world, into your life. When you're not constricting yourself, how slower life becomes, how much easier life becomes when we're not going against it like things have to go this way. And we were on that kind of rat race of just things have to get done and I have to do this and I have to do that. And my kid needs this and it's just like all this chaos and this speediness. And it's where, I don't know about you, but where I find myself super snappy and short with my kids. I'm yelling, I'm losing it. Like I have no patience. I am burnt out, relationship struggle. It's hard to even prioritize my friendships and have good, meaningful women themed friendships, which I think are super important. And then even just strengthening the bond with my husband, with my partner in life. Like we've had a lot of struggles and a lot of growth together. And I do feel like a lot of the struggle comes from me not fully being myself, not being fully present, and me being able to communicate and engage with him because I'm so focused on all the other distracting things that are going on. And sometimes life becomes that much easier to just go through the motions than doing the hard things like having hard conversations or really speaking your truth. And I think that's hard for a lot of people, and especially women who have experienced some kind of trauma in their past or have dealt with fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, and just really not knowing their own worth. And so that's what I'm here to do, is to create this safe environment for women to be able to speak up, to share their struggles, to maybe learn some new ways to foster their own self-healing and then come to their own understanding of whatever their spirituality is, and to really just break free from these kind of self-imposed cages we put on ourselves, like trying to please everybody and be who we think we need to be instead of really just listening to our hearts and being who we want to be. So that's hard AF, right? That's hard as fuck. And I'm so happy to finally bring this out into the world. And I hope it reaches the ears it needs to reach. And with this, I plan to lead some virtual support groups and virtual healing circles. And I'll just be sharing more about my story, the things that I've got into and learned along my journey. And I'm open for any topics that anybody wants to discuss. Really crave that feedback. I'm looking to host some interviews and some group chats here on the podcast as well. So if you want to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out. If you have any topics you want me to cover, let's get it on the podcast. Reach out. Let's do it. Like I want to address anything that's going to be valuable for you, the listener. And really, again, this is really just about empowering women to get them to turn that light back on within themselves and shine brightly like they're meant to, and really digging into those hard as fuck things and really just get to the heart of it and just enjoy life again and really find that kind of sisterhood of other women to know that you are supported and that we're holding space for you and that we're here to cheer you on and help you rise up, because it's like a collective thing. When I rise, you rise, we rise. I think that's really important. It's especially the way the world is right now. We more than ever need to help support each other and lift each other up. And I really want to let women know that they're not alone, and that any feelings they have, all the guilt they have, they're not alone. And there's ways to let go of that guilt and that pain and that hurt, to break through that and become free again and become the true you and let yourself fly and be free. I feel like as women, typically we quiet ourselves down because the world says we're too much. And so we're always just trying to fit in on what we're told we need to be. And it's time to just say enough of that and not give a fuck what anybody else thinks, and really just harness that inner power and just come out, shine your light, and be yourself. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm going to wrap it up here. We'll leave with that awesome song from my man, Joe Mesius. Love you, brother. Thank you so much for making that beat for me. And I'll see you guys next week.